I'm going to show you how to 3D print an object that you create in Tinkercad. First, I want to make a more appropriate name. I like to put my last name on it so I can find the files. And we're going to take each object and export them separately. First of all, make sure that this is the right size in Tinkercad. And I'm going to click on one object, click Export. Make sure we're picking the selected shape and export to an STL file. This throws it in the Downloads folder. We'll do the same thing for the next one. Export the selected shape to STL. So now that the STL files are in the Downloads folder, we're going to run Cura. So Cura, you can find Cura by going to Launchpad and looking around. It should be a big C. If you can't see it, then we'll close the Launchpad. We can go to the Spotlight search and type Cura Lulzbot, and it should find it that way. Once you run it, the first screen that you might come up with might look like something like this, where it asks you which printer you want to use. It'll look something like this. You're going to pick the TAZ6, and you're going to pick single extruder. Okay, and I'm just going to cancel out of this because I already have mine already set up that way, but it should say Lulzbot TAZ6 up here. Okay, we're going to go to the Downloads folder and drag and drop the two files in there. And this is why I wanted them to be exported separately, so that you can move them around. If you have a number of things to print, or you want to make multiple copies of it, you can treat them individually now. So we should check once again to make sure that all the settings are right, that this looks like about the right size. If you select an object and it doesn't look the right size, you could type in new values here, type in new percents, or even just drag these things to scale it around. But this looks like the right size for me, so everything looks ready to print here. You can scroll around with the mouse to see if everything looks good. We're going to have we have to pick the material. We're going to pick the high temperature PLA. Most of the stuff in the makerspace uses this high temperature PLA. Unless you're doing something fancy, standard printing is fine. If you have something with a lot of detail, you can make it high detail. If you want something faster, it doesn't need to look that pretty. It can be high speed. Keep it recommended. Keep it 20% infill, and make sure this button is checked. If you have any overhangs on any of your prints, you need to have it generate some support so that the plastic doesn't just get squirted into the air and actually has something that it goes onto. Build plate is skirt, and we're going to save to file. Right now, it's going to, let's just save this right now just to the downloads. And we're going to put that onto an SD card. So I'll hit save. It's going to print a G-code file. Those are the specific instructions that is needed for the printer to work. Now we're ready to take the G-code file and put it onto an SD card. I put an SD card into the back of the iMac, and so this G-code file is the one that needs to go onto the SD card. I'll drag it there. It's now on there, and I can eject the SD card and put it into the 3D printer.
Now I can take out the SD card and put it into the Lulzbot. And it should say that should notice that a card is inserted. You can push the button and scroll down to print from the SD card. And I'm going to print the gift box. And that's it. The 3D printer is now going to do its thing.